Is it reasonable for the future king to go over to the enemy side? Today's focus: did David truly commit treason? Find Foods, 7 minutes a day, 1 Bible a year. Grace and peace, everyone. Our reading today brings us to the last 3 chapters of 1 Samuel, chapters 29 through 31. Our key verse is, I have found no fault in you, but the rulers don't approve of you. Now turn back and go in peace. The preceding story is about Saul facing the Philistines and consulting a medium. At this time, Saul is king of Israel, and he must face the Philistine army. And David, fleeing Saul's pursuit, had to seek refuge with the Philistines. At this time, David is in the Philistine camp, forming a sharp contrast. Because David is the future king, Saul is the present king. The future king actually went to the enemy's side. As for Saul, he betrayed God and God's will, did not listen to the prophet, and persecuted David. As for David, fleeing Saul's persecution with nowhere else to go, he sought refuge with the Philistines to protect himself. So did David commit treason. If at this time he fought against Israel, against Saul, and God's intent was for Saul to fall, then for David in the Philistine camp to cause Saul's death, that doesn't seem right either. Because David clearly had opportunities to kill Saul himself, but he did not do so. If he does not fight, how is he to answer to the Philistines? God himself will solve this difficult dilemma. The significance of the books of Samuel lies in sowing seeds for the United Kingdom age. Today's reading has reached the end. Saul and his son die on the same day. Let's look at the scripture. The wandering David takes refuge with the enemy. David, fleeing from Saul, sought refuge with Achish the Philistine. Achish gave him the country town Ziklag as a base, from which David launched attacks against the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, all enemies of Israel. Here we're giving the background. When he sought refuge with Achish the Philistine, Achish gave him a small village, Ziklag, to serve as their base. Because the Philistines are enemies, betraying Israel is not pleasing to God either. So David took an action. He attacked the Geshurites, Girzites, and Amalekites, all enemies of Israel. Yet he made Achish believe he was attacking Judah. This was like David's proof of loyalty to gain Achish's trust. But he also had to remain loyal to the Lord and to his own people. So he attacked Israel's enemies. As God's children, we are to be as innocent as doves and as shrewd as snakes. This situation is like Rahab of Jericho, worthy of much discussion. We must know they were in a very difficult situation and made an adaptive choice. But now a problem arises. They are about to attack Israel. So what should David do? What do you think a reasonable course for David would be? What should he do now? We can also consider God's perspective. God rejected Saul as king, intended to use the Philistines' hand to remove Saul, and also to raise up David. If David, in the enemy camp, defeated Israel and killed Saul, could he become king afterward? That wouldn't be right either. Let's see how God resolves this. David and his men were marching at the rear with Achish. The commanders of the Philistines asked, What about these Hebrews? Achish was king of Gath among the Philistines, so their other rulers voiced opposition, objecting to David accompanying them. In Achish's mind, David was loyal, but God stirred the hearts of the rulers, making them oppose going to battle. This resolved the dilemma perfectly. So, was he supposed to fight against Israel? When all human options were exhausted, we see God's own hand intervening. He stirred the Philistine rulers themselves to raise the objection. When God himself resolved it, and David did not have to fight Saul, let's see David's response. If David directly replied, All right, then I was thinking the same, that would be strange. Not expressing his loyalty. If he insisted on going to battle, he'd face the earlier dilemma again. So David's words, I'd call them diplomatic talk. David's diplomatic talk. But what have I done? Asked David. What have you found against your servant from the day I came to you until now? Why can't I go and fight against the enemies of my lord, the king?" This diplomatic talk pleased Achish, but after weighing it, he still did not send David to battle. We all know the final outcome. The Philistines were victorious. Saul and his son Jonathan both died on the same day. Israel was defeated, and David was kept clear of it all. As we reflect on this, do you think David did anything wrong? First, he took refuge with the Philistines. Though one might say it's understandable. Understandable still implies a fault. He still had a small error. And then came his diplomatic speech. He still had to maintain the surface appearance of loyalty, which is understandable. But even what is understandable is still, in a sense, flawed. God's discipline has degrees. For serious error, there is severe discipline. For minor error, there is lighter discipline. Sin does have degrees of severity. To be in the camp of the enemy, with one's own nation defeated and one's own king fallen, from a human standpoint, that is hardly a good thing. Yet God has his will and his plan. So when David returned, he was also disciplined. As mentioned earlier, Ziklag was David's village, his base and stronghold. When he returned, Ziklag had been raided by the Amalekites. He had previously attacked them, and the Amalekites retaliated, plundering everywhere, not only their village, but others as well. When they found their village, their wives, children, and the property in the village all plundered, they were greatly distressed, to the point that the men who followed David wanted to stone him to death. Remember, these followers were originally the outcasts of the world. It was quite difficult for David to lead them. Yet at this moment, David inquired of the Lord through the priest, saying, "Shall I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake them?" "Pursue them," he answered. "You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue." When David pursued the Amalekites, they were celebrating with the plunder, eating and drinking, completely off guard. So, David and his men destroyed the Amalekites and rescued all the people and their property. Nothing was missing, young or old, boy or girl, plunder or anything else they had taken. David brought everything back. This was a warning with a close call. Many videos and commentaries, when covering this passage, talk about how God helped David, opening a way of deliverance from trouble, and how he was victorious. That's not wrong, of course. But such analysis is a bit shallow. We need to think a level deeper. From God's perspective, he was warning David, but it was a warning with a close call, just like seeking refuge with the Philistines was also a close call. When you think about it, God's ways are extremely intricate. Read carefully, consider carefully, and we can understand more about the relationship between God and man, and the relationship between man and God. Reading Guide to 1 Samuel. The significance of the books of Samuel lies in sowing seeds for the United Kingdom age, set in the United Kingdom age. Please follow a single line through the entire Bible several times. It is the main line of the entire Bible, covering the 12 ages. We will soon launch new content to expand its branches. Next is follow a single line through the United Kingdom age. Stay tuned. Chapter 29. David among the Philistines. Did David truly commit treason? Chapter 30. Amalekites raid Ziklag. A warning with a close call. Chapter 31. The final chapter. Saul and Jonathan die in battle. When David was in a gray area, he could have sinned against God. Yet God himself resolved it for him. Today's focus. Did David truly commit treason? God personally resolved it, preventing David from committing treason and killing the Lord's anointed, while he also underwent a time of discipline. Blessed is the one whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. Fine food, 7 minutes. See you tomorrow.